What's good, World Wide Web? Welcome to my first Death Battle prediction video. As of recording this video, Dante vs. Clive is a mere day away from its full episode premiere. And if you're one of the few people that saw my reaction to the reveal, we've got Dante versus Clive Rosfield, baby! Then you could probably guess why I'd want to be a little more engaged with this specific episode. So what you can expect from this prediction is me musing over my prior knowledge of both these characters. No officially determined scaling or research will be formally incorporated into this video, just a general bystander's glance at the two combatants. Now, to begin, I gotta confess, I haven't had the chance to play any Devil May Cry game yet. I know how infamous these characters generally are, and taking chances to expand game interests are kinda difficult nowadays when we have this little thing called the growing backlog. So instead, my sense will be coming from what I've seen from videos online, such as the Netflix anime, as well as the Dante vs. Bayonet episode. My main understanding is that Dante is an iconic badass. He has a wide arsenal of weapons to choose from, access to more supernatural powers like Quicksilver, and the heavy metal form of the Devil Trigger. Considering that Dante has 5 mainline game entries, yes, 5, there is no 6, it's safe to say that Dante has built up quite the experience fighting powerful demons and garnered incredible strength because of it. Meanwhile, on the more fantastical side, we have his opponent, Clive Rosfield, the hero that broke the Death Battle community free from the curse of Final Fantasy VII. Clive is a freedom fighter that is a formally trained warrior, wielder of the elements, and the dominant/vessel of the great fire entity of Ifrit. Due to his role as the dominant of Ifrit, Clive's main forte is to fight with fire. But being diagnosed with the main character role means that he's going to get some other little nifty perks. In Clive's case, he gains access to other iconic elemental entities of the Final Fantasy series, like Shiva, Odin, and even Bahamut. Each of these entities or icons are capable of their own extraordinary things, and have helped Clive contend with fellow dominants, fierce monsters, and primal beings alike. With the battles he's accumulated over his lifetime, Clive absolutely has what it takes to contend with Dante from the Devil May Cry series. Okay, based on what you just heard, could you tell that I've played Final Fantasy XVI? I fondly recall Clive's journey, so I could definitely weigh in a little bit more on his capabilities for this upcoming episode. Just to be clear, this is all based on my base game knowledge. I haven't played either of the DLC yet, but I've seen what he gains from them. With those character rundowns out of the way, I believe that some of this battle's outcomes will depend on how their skill sets and experiences compare to one another. And when it comes to this, it seems like on first glance, Dante might have the edge in both of these departments. Dante has had the freedom of fighting demons for many years in his adult life, while Clive has had at least 5 years fighting other dominants across Valisthea. While we see Clive grow up to be an adult, he spent a good amount of his adult life imprisoned and enslaved as another kingdom soldier, mainly being capable of slaying giant monsters like Morbles or Bandersnatches. Clive's weaponry also seems somewhat limited. While the other icon seasons have granted him access to other powers and tools, Dante's arsenal completely eclipses that with his devil arms. Even with Clive's elemental versatility, the scope of powers that Dante presumably deals with probably goes beyond the magical confines of Final Fantasy XVI. Now, let's dive a little bit more into the climactic point of this fight, Ifrit versus the Devil Trigger. To be fair, once Clive realizes his full potential with Ifrit, he becomes a very powerful being, especially with the Ifrit Risen form. However, Clive has had a history of being overpowered and even knocked out of Ifrit's form. Even with 5 years of having his adorable Ifrit powers, Clive only has so many dominants and primal beings to fight, maybe close to around 10 give or take. Then again, that's kind of how most video games are, and we have a limited major full of bosses that can really achieve incredible displays of power that is beyond belief. In that regard, the same statement could also be said for Dante because of his main history with foes like Virgil and Mundus, and potentially other superpowered and mighty demons that I haven't even heard of. So while I have little knowledge on Devil May Cry, I believe Dante has the better mastery of powers. I'm going to be surprised to see Devil Trigger hold one over on Ifrit. Additionally, Dante is part demon, so he most likely has more natural capabilities with his demon powers, while Clive has had to train and develop his. On the other hand, despite his presumably lesser experience compared to Dante, as of Ifrit Arisen, Clive has had to take on Square Enix's infamous attack, the Zeta Flare. Yes, this same skill that was most infamously used by Kingdom Hearts' most notorious character, Donald Duck. Now, I don't know the exact scale of devastation, but I think the Versus community has mentioned that Zeta Flare is capable of at least destroying universe, or cause destruction on that kind of scale, maybe even multiple. Clive being able to take on this on his first encounter is no easy feat, and probably speaks more on the devastating potential and raw power that he achieves during his story. In all honesty, I was more certain of Dante's victory before I recall that this happened in Final Fantasy XVI story. This just made it a little trickier for me to officially decide on who I'm betting to be the victor. With that being said, after some deliberation, I think I have to go with the game I'm more knowledgeable in. It's a risky gamble, I'm sure, but being able to tank a Zeta Flare is no easy thing to accomplish. What's more, Clive being the mythos, however you want to read it, gives him a safe sailing to Ultima, who presumably has universal levels of power due to general statements I've seen on dimension creation. And what's more, with the added powers of Bahamut, Odin, and Ultima, this could push Clive's edge of power even further. From what I've seen, Dante can achieve devastating potential as well, but I'm unsure about the possible power multipliers he's achieved. Another drawback might have to deal with how he is an Earth-based character, and while he's fought in the demon world, who knows the size difference of Earth compared to the planet Clive is living on. And just as some may say Dante could have fought demons comparable to the Dominants, the opposite could also be said for Clive. So while Dante may be the more impressive fighter, Clive possesses some powers that may reliably push him further in the competition. It is for these reasons that I believe Dante will go out in a blaze of glory, and Clive will cry out in overall victory. Now, just a reminder that these are just general statements on my part, and there will clearly be some mistakes or assumptions on whatever I have said about Dante from Devil May Cry. These are mainly inferences I made due to how familiar I am with Clive's potential. Needless to say, the official episode will cover more about both of them, and from what I've heard, the research team was hyped about looking into everything about Clive. I know betting on Clive is very risky, especially with so many unknowns and, nothing officially researched or established about Final Fantasy XVI's, achievements. But I definitely have to root for Clive because of how much I love Naoki Yoshida in Final Fantasy XIV and Ben Starr. But if Dante is the apparent winner of this death battle, and I was just kind of like, I should have just gone with my gut and gone with the same feeling, I'm not going to be surprised. I won't be disappointed. But, that's just how it is. But if Clive wins, I'll be really, really, really happy. Anyways, that's all I have to say on the matter. So let's look forward to the full episode of Dante vs. Clive. I bid you all a smiley face, and a good rest of your day. Until next time, later.